Hi Year 3 and welcome to this week's spelling lesson. In a moment I'm going to reveal the 3 children who are at the top of our leaderboard this week, but before we do that we're going to start off with this activity. Now Miss Cole and Mr Preston gave you some great spelling tips last week and some wonderful strategies to help you out for the Year 3-4 word list. So for our starter activity this week, I was just wondering if you could help me out.
I've written 2 sentences on the whiteboard, but I've taken a step back and looked at it, and some of those words just don't look like they're spelt right. Can you help me, Year 3? Pause the video now and see if you can write out those 2 sentences with all the spellings correctly written.
Spot my mistakes. Let's have a look. I looked through. There's our first one. That one doesn't look right. And if you think back to last week's lesson, Mr. Preston talked about the "Oh, you grumpy hippo" rule, didn't he? And that's what we need to apply to this one here. So rather than getting the "oo" sound from the double O, we need to apply that "Oh, you grumpy hippo" rule. So there's our first one. I looked through the encyclopedia to find the answer to the question. Now this one isn't right either. And Miss Cole spoke about this, remembering that a U always follows a Q, and she told us about that rule about quest, I on. So for that reason, we've got question there. We just needed to add that U in, very important. And lastly, this believe, it looks all wrong to me. I don't know what I was thinking. But when I thought back to what Miss Cole said, she said, never believe a lie, did she? So that lie is very, very important. So B-E, then we've got our lie, which is there, and finish it off with V-E. So there was 3 spellings that I needed to alter. Thanks for helping me out.
Top of the Spelling Shed leaderboard again this week is Riley T, keeping up this fantastic streak that he's on, so well done to you. Then we've got Noah H as well, and I also noticed, Noah, you are second in the school on Mathstronauts as well, so excellent home learning. And then we've also got Thomas Cook as well from my class, who has also been doing some wonderful spelling work at home. Well done to you 3.
The learning objective for this lesson is to be able to spell numbers up to 1,000. So it's a cross-curricular spelling lesson because this is in our maths objectives as well, but it's also very important from a spelling point of view that you can spell numbers up to 1,000. So we're going to start off from the very beginning, of course. We're going to start off with 1, and I would like you to write this down as we go. Okay, so you don't need to pause the video, but do get a piece of paper or a whiteboard in front of you and write these number words as I write them down. So we're going to begin with 1. So we've got 0 and E. Okay, then we have got 2. So of course, 2 is a homophone. There's lots of 2s, 2, 2, 2. This 2, the number 2, has that silent W in there. Next we have 3, T, H, R, E, E. Remembering that double E, just like a tree, the spelling of tree. 4. Now again, 4 is a homophone. Remembering homophone means same sound but different meaning. So we've got 4 and 4. This 4 has an O in it, and the way that I always used to remember whether it needed an O or not, O is also in the word number, so if it's the number 4, it needs the O. That's how I remembered it. Next we've got 5, I, the E, 6, 7, S, E, V, E, N. 8's quite a tricky one, but we can use other words to help us, like height, has the number 8 in it. So we've got E-I-G-H-T. The start of the word is creating that A sound, a bit like a horse neigh. 8. Next we have 9. N-I-N-E. And then 10. T-E-N. Okay, so we're going to go all the way up to 20 initially, because after that we can use many of these again as it features as they go along. So we'll go straight on to 11. E-L-E-V-E-N. 12. Okay, and you'll notice here, for beginning with 12, we've got that TW again, because of course a 12 has a 2 in the ones column. 13, you can see the similarities between 13 and 3 with the TH, and it carries on in that vein. 14, we've got 4 at the start, and then we need to add on teen, remembering that it's the double E to make that E sound. 15. Notice it's not a double T for 18. We've got the T on the end of 8, and we are adding on the een to create 18. 19. Again, just adding that teen on the end. And number 20. With the Y making that E sound at the end. So there's our 1 to 20. I've just started to write out the multiples of 10, which are really going to help us when we start putting together larger numbers and writing them out correctly. So I've got 10, 20, 30. Notice that 30 has that same th sound as 13 does, using the I rather than the that we would use in Thursday. We've got the I here instead. 40 is a really interesting one. You might think that it should have the U in there like 4 does, but it doesn't. It's a bit of an exception to the rule. So we've got F-O-R-T-Y, like that. Okay. 50, we've got that fifth sound like we're doing 15. Instead we've got 50, like that. 60. 70. 80. 90. And then, right, 100. Okay. So for this year 3, you are going to need a dice. Now you can always make one of these yourself at home as well if you've got a piece of card. That's absolutely fine. It'll work great. You can have the 6-sided dice, but I know there are some 10-sided dice as well, which will work really well. The steps to success for this activity, and for writing numbers up to 1,000 generally. When writing numbers between 21 and 99, we use a hyphen. So for example, 57, we would write 50 hyphen 7. And that goes the same as if it goes into 100 as well. So if we was to say 163, I would write 160 hyphen 3. Okay, our next step to success, do not write 0 unless the 0 is by itself. So if we had 207 as our number, we wouldn't write 200 0 10s and 7, right? We would just write 207. Okay, so unless it's just a 0 on its own, like that, in that case we would write 0, but otherwise we don't write 0. And finally, write the number how you speak it. Okay, so if I was to write that down to you and say, what's the number that's on the board? You would look at it and probably say to me, using your place value, oh, that's 426. So for that reason, you've just said it, 426, that's how we write it down. We do include the and as well, and that's when we then have to think about our spellings that we've practiced so far. So, we're going to start off with 2-digit numbers to begin with, mainly focusing on this hyphen rule and some of those spellings that we went through earlier. Got our dice here, I'm going to roll it twice and then see what numbers I get. Okay, so I've got a 3 and a 7. So I've got 3 first and a 7. So I've got 3 in my tens column and 7 ones. So 37. I'm remembering that sound from the 30 is made by the I, not a U. 30. What else does Mr. Bulley need to do? That's right, steps to success. We need to use a hyphen for numbers between 21 and 99. So we've got 37. I'm going to roll it again. Oh, we've got an 8. That's going to go in my tens column. And a 2. For those of you who are saying, how have you rolled an 8? It is a funny 9-sided dice. 82. 8 on our year 3-4 spelling words. It's quite a tricky one. I always try and think of a horse neighing. It helps me for some reason. 80 hyphen 2, remembering that silent W, 82. Okay, pause the video now and have a go yourself. Okay, so now time to move it up a bit, and yes, you guessed it, now we're going to roll it 3 times, so we've got a 3-digit number to write down in words, focusing on those spellings. So, I'm going to roll my dice again. We've got a 4, we have got a 1, and we have got a 6. So, write the number how you speak it. I would speak that 416, so that's the way that I'm going to write it. So I'll write it underneath this time. Got 400, so 4. Got that O in there, O because it's the number 4, the 400. And, because that's the way that I speak it, 406. 416. Okay, so for your task this week is to play this game with somebody else at home, and spend a good 20 to 30 minutes rolling that dice and really getting used to these different steps of success, using your hyphen when it's necessary, not writing the 0, and also remembering to write the number how you speak it. So going back to this hyphen one, if I was to have rolled 427, I would still need to use a hyphen for 27 at the end. So I'd write 427. I hope you enjoyed that game. Take as much time as you need. If you want to keep that word list next to you as you're doing it that you wrote out earlier, then please do so. And again, send in your work to the Year 3 email. Enjoy Year 3. See you soon.